Hi fashion lovers, you're welcome to another interesting video. In today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful long dress with a stylish neckline and a cape sleeve, just like what you're seeing on the screen. If it is something you want to learn, you need to keep watching this video. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you find it very interesting. And if you are new here, you are highly welcome. Kindly subscribe and be part of the family for amazing content. And to all my subscribers, thank you for subscribing. Let's get started. To get started, I have my pattern paper here. As you can see, I have the pattern for the front and the pattern for the back part. So this is the starting point line, which is the shoulder, and this is the front part. So I've gone ahead to mark my neckline of 3 by 3 inches. This is the chest line, the bust point line, and the waist line. So from the shoulder line to my chest line is 8.5, to my bust point is 9.5, and to my front waistline is 15 inches. And I've gone ahead to mark my shoulder slope of 1 inch, 1.5 inches for the front, while the back shoulder slope is 1 inch. And this is the back part. So from the shoulder to my chest line is 8.5, to my back waistline is 13.5 inches. Always bear in mind that there is always a difference between the front pattern and the back pattern, the front waistline and the back waistline, due to the bust at the front. So the next thing is to mark our bust circumference. My bust measurement is 36 inches. The front bust is 19, whereas the back bust is 17. So the front bust is bigger than the back bust. So that 19 inches, which is the front bust, I'll go ahead and divide it by 2 and mark it on my front bust. The 19 inches, which is the front bust, I will divide it and mark it on my front bust. And on the waistline, I will go ahead and mark 1/4 of my waist measurement. Add the dart intake on the waistline, which is 1.5 inches, and from the chest line you want to connect to the waist line. So I've made a video earlier on how to get the difference between your front bust and the back bust. Due to the bust is at the front, so there is always a difference between the front bust and the back bust. So I've made a video and you can go watch it, so you know how to determine the difference between your front bust and the back bust, to know how many inches you are going to be using for the front bust and the inches you're going to be using for the back bust. So the next thing is on the back, you want to divide the back bust, which is 17 inches, by 2 and mark on the chest line. For the zipper part, you want to come inward by 1 inch, did you see, and take it to the nape of your neck to eliminate zipper bulge. So the next thing is on the waistline, divide your waist by 4 and mark 1/4 of your waist. Add your 1 inch for that zipper allowance you have already cut out, and also replace your dart in inches, which is 1 inch. Replace your dart intake, and from the chest line connect to the waistline. I believe this is very clear, and if you don't understand, you can go ahead and ask your questions. So whatever I have on the front part, I'll turn to the other part of those pattern. So after I was done, this is what I have. This is the front part, and I've opened it up. Did you see that? So the next thing is to determine the part that will have this design. So this is the part that will have that design, and so I went ahead to divide the shoulder by 2 and then connect it straight to my bust point. So to determine the yoke, you want to come down by 5 inches. So I use 5 inches, but I feel that 6 inches would have been better. So if you're doing yours, you can use 6 inches. So I came down by 5 inches for my own and then mark a straight line, and that is going to be my yoke part. Please bear in mind that the neckline I use is 3 inches by 3 inches. So towards this part, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch away from the neckline like this, and I'm going to connect it from that ½ inch away from the neckline and connect it to meet this point. Did you see? So let me just use this pen and trace that neckline. So I'm trying to get that neckline that we are working with, the way the neckline is. So I mark ½ inch away from the neckline, and this is me trying to connect it to meet this point. Did you see that? So the next thing is to place my curve ruler like this and curve it out, because I feel that part here is a bit curvy. So I'm trying to like curve it out. Did you see what I did? And with your marker now, with your curve ruler now, you want to blend this part of the neckline like so. Did you see? Blend this part of the neckline, and also blend this part of the neckline. So with this, I think I've gotten the perfect neckline for this. So this part now is going to be cut out. So it's going to be cut out. It's not part of the neckline any longer. So I've gotten what I wanted for this neckline. So the next thing is to contour this neckline a bit. So from here, I'm going to mark ½ inch. Just ½ inch is okay to contour this neckline. Keep your curve ruler like this and blend into the bust point. So I'm just cutting it to avoid any gaping that might occur. So this is me trying to blend this into the bust region now. Did you see? So I just use ½ an inch to contour my neckline. So, and then you want to go ahead and blend it. So the next thing is to work on the other side. So I'm going to turn this side to an armhole princess dart. So I'll just take it straight to stop at that point where the yoke started, and I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is going to serve as the dart, and then blend it in like ½ an inch before the bust point, above the bust point. Did you see? So this is me trying to blend in this part. So I took 1 inch. I'm going to be extending it out by 1 inch, which is the dart intake on the armhole, and then connect it to the armhole like this. And then you want to like blend this part. So this is me trying to like blend this into the armhole, trying to blend it in like this. Did you see? So this is what I have after I was done. This is what I have. So this is the yoke 1 and yoke 2. Front waistline is 15, while the back waistline is 13.5. The difference between them is 1.5 inches. So from the bust point line, come down by 1.5 inches and mark your bust dart. Do it on both sides of the pattern. So this is my bust dart. I'm going to be cutting it out, and by the time I close it, the side seam or the front and the back will align, since the front length and the back length is not the same. So by the time you take your bust dart, everything is going to do what? Align. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the neckline and the shoulder part of the front, so I'll be able to draft the back part. So the next thing is to close the zipper part. Did you see? You go ahead and close the zipper part of the front of the back. Use your pin and hold it down. So when you have done that, you match it up. You can see it did not really align well. So did you see what I'm going to do? So you want to match the shoulder line like this. Did you see? Match it up. Did you see what I'm doing? Match the shoulder line. And where the front shoulder starts, you want to mark it on the back as well. Just follow me and see what I'm doing. Mark where the shoulder is. You want to mark it on the back part, and also match this part up. Did you see? And make sure make sure everything aligns. Did you see how the shoulder and the armhole aligns? Then you want to like make a curve like this. So this part now, this part that I curved is going to be cut out. this part that I cut is going to be cut out. So if you don't want the back to have a yoke, you can just cut out this neckline, and that is how the back is going to be. But if you want the back to have a yoke, I'll go ahead and make a yoke. Just follow me to understand what I'm doing. So from the back, you want to come down by 5 inches, just the way I did for the front, and then you want to go ahead and connect with a straight line around that point. So the next thing is to determine the type of neckline you want. So if you want, you can keep this neckline, cut that out, and that will be your neckline. But then I want to have like a V neckline at the back, and that is why you see me marking a V neckline to stop at that yoke part. Did you see what I'm doing? To stop at that yoke part. So this is actually very easy and simple to make. So with this, I'm done with the back part. So you can go ahead and cut out your pattern. So I'll start cutting out the front part first. Just follow me and see what I'm doing. This is actually very easy. So the next thing you want to do, match it up. You can see the shoulder line matches and the other part also matches. So that's very good because we're going to be joining the two shoulders together. So you want to cut the that part to the bust point and close up the bust dart. Try to align this part. Did you see? And then you can continue your cutting. And then go ahead and close up this part, close up that half inch that we use for contouring, so you'll be able to remark the neckline. Did you see? So you'll be able to blend in the neckline. Then go ahead and cut out. So by the time you put them together, everything aligns very well. Did you see that? So you continue your cutting. For this part, you also want to cut to the bust point and then go ahead and close your bust dart. Then remark any line that you have. After I was done, this is what I have. Did you see that? So this is how the front pattern looks like. Isn't this beautiful? Let's continue with the cutting of the back part. So after I was done, you want to open it up and cut out this part too, because you will not be needing it. And this is what I have for the back part after I was done. So the next thing is to align the side seam of the front to the back and also align the other side. You can see everything matches together. So go over to the skirt pattern now. So for the skirt, I'm going to be cutting directly on the fabric, and the fabric I'm making use of is a Duchess fabric. So I've gone ahead to mark a starting point line. So this is the front part of the skirt and we're cutting it directly on the pattern. So from the starting point, which is the waistline, I marked my hip depth line, which is 9 inches. So hip depth line is usually 8 to 11 inches depending on how tall the person is. The next thing I mark is from my waist to my knee, which is 22 inches. Waist to the knee, 22 inches, and then waist knee to the length of the top. So I'm making the length of the skirt, the length of the skirt as 43 inches plus 1.5 inches for the hemming allowance. So this is the front part now. So the next thing is to mark 1/4 of my waist circumference. The waist circumference I'm working with is 26. Divided by 4 is going to give me 6.5. I will mark it on my waistline. on the front. I'm not marking a dart on the front part, so I will just go ahead and mark 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. And the hip I'm working with is 38 inches. 37 is my hip, plus 1 inch for the is 38. So the front hip is 17, while the back hip is 21 inch, because the butt is fuller at the back, so your front and back hip are not the same. My front hip is 17, my back hip is 21 inches. I've made a video explaining how to get your front hip and your back hip. I have a video on how to do that. So my front hip is 17. I will divide 17 by 2 and mark, and then go ahead and mark 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. You can go watch the video so you'll be able to get how to, so you'll be able to know how to get your front hip and your back hip. So from the waistline, you connect to the hip line, and whatever I have on the hip line, I will remove 1 inch and mark on the hem parts. And mark on the knee line now. So whatever I have on the hip, I will remove 1 inch and mark on the hem part. So what I want to remove from the knee line is 3 inches. On the front, I removed 1. On the back, I'm going to remove 2 inches. The front is 1 inch. So what I have on the knee, I will bring to the hem part. So what I have on the hip line, I remove 1 inch to mark on the knee. And what I have on the knee, I extended it to the hem part of this skirt. So this is very easy and simple to make. So the next thing is from the side seam, you raise by half an inch, and on the center front, which is here, you come down by 1 inch. This is going to take care of your tummy. If you have a very big tummy, come down by 1.5 inches, and then you want to go ahead and connect. I raised the side seam by half an inch and came down by half an inch on the I came down by 1 inch on the center front and connected. So this is me marking half inch for the sewing allowance on the upper part. So this is me marking that half inch. So with this, I'm done with the front part of this skirt. So you can go ahead and cut it out now. So the next thing is to draft the back part. As you can see, I've marked my starting point line. I've marked from shoulder to the hip line, which is 9.5, 9 inches, shoulder to the knee, which is 22 inches, and shoulder to the length of my skirt, which is 43, plus 1.5 inches for the hemming allowance. So the next thing is to mark my zipper allowance. So I've gone ahead to mark my zipper allowance of 1 inch, as you can see. So from the waistline to the hip line is not straight. So we are going to be coming in from the waistline by 1 inch to eliminate that bulging and to give our skirt that perfect curve. So from the waistline, you come inward by 1 inch and connect to the hip line. Stop 1 inch or 1.5 inches before the hip line, just like what you see me do. This is to eliminate zipper bulging effect and to give your skirt that perfect curve. So from these parts now, after that 1 inch, you mark 1/4 of your waist circumference. Mark 1 inch for your zipper, because we've already removed 1 inch. So that 1 inch is going to serve for that zipper that you've removed. And then the next thing is to mark 1.5 inches for that. So I'm going to be taking that for the back part, and then I'm marking 1.5 inches again for the sewing allowance. So what I mark is 1/4 of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for that, and 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. So on the hip line, I'm going to divide the 21 inches, which is my back hip, by 2, and then go ahead and connect. So you divide your back hip by 2, and then go ahead and connect from the waist to the hip line, and then you mark 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance on the waist and on the hip, and then go ahead and connect. So you can see the skirt pattern, the back skirt pattern is going to be longer than the front skirt pattern. The next thing is to raise the side by half an inch and then blend it into the waistline, just like what we did, but we're not coming down by 1 inch like we did for the center front of the waistline. So the next thing is to go ahead and mark your darts, and then mark 3/4 of an inch on both sides, and then take it straight to the hip line, but stop 2 inches above the hip line for your dart. Then go ahead and connect. So the dart I use for the back is 1.5 inches. You can use 1.5 inches, you can use 1 inch. Then go ahead and connect your dart. Your dart should stop 2 inches above your hip line. So with this, you are done with the back waistline. So the next thing is to work on the knee. Coming from the hip, coming towards to the knee line is also not straight. So we are going to be eliminating 1 inch from the knee line, and we're going to be connecting like this from the hip to the knee. So you're going to be connecting like this. So we are removing 1 inch from the hip line. We are giving the hip that curve that is supposed to have. So you are giving that hip that curve. So that 1 inch that we remove from the knee, so you are coming here to remark it. This is the 1 inch, and whatever you have on the hip line from here to this point, you're going to remove 2 inches. So I have it as 12. I'm removing 2 inches and I'm having it as 10. So I'm going to start from here. Look at where I kept my tape, and I will mark that 10 inches. So from the hip line, I will connect to the knee, just like you see me do, like this. This is it now. So this is what I have. So what I have on this knee line, I will go ahead and transfer to the hem part. So all these parts will be cut out. All these parts will be cut out. So I'm going to have that pence look, or that pence effect. So whatever I have on the knee, I will mark on the hem part of my skirt. So I'll use my straight ruler and connect from the knee to the hem part, just like you see me doing. So I'll go ahead and cut out my skirt pattern. So the next thing you want to do is to add your ½ inch sewing allowance on the waistline, just like you see me do. Then you will go ahead and reconnect that waist part and continue with your cutting. So after I was done, this is what I have. So this is my dart. I'll just notch around that point, and whatever I have here, I'm going to transfer to this part. So I'm going to be transferring the dart to the other side of my skirt pattern. So the next thing is to cut out the cape sleeve. So there are different ways to cut out the cape sleeve, but for this sleeve we are working with, the cape sleeve, they made use of the basic sleeve pattern to cut out the cape sleeve, and the cape sleeve was sewn to the end of the armhole. Normally some cape sleeve stops around this point of the armhole, like around this point of the armhole, but some cape sleeve stuff around this point of the armhole. Did you see? But for the dress we are working with, the cape sleeve got to the end of the armhole, and we are using our sleeve pattern to cut out this cape sleeve. So after I'm done pinning, I will extend my sleeve length to 4 inches. This is my long sleeve pattern, but I want the cape sleeve to be very long, so I'm extending by 3 inches plus 1 inch for the hemming allowance, making it 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and rule a line at that point. Did you see? So the next thing, I'm going to be marking 9 inches as the extension plus 1 inch, which is going to be my sewing allowance. So what I marked on the down part is 10 inches, and on the bicep line here I will mark 1 inch, which is going to be my sewing allowance. And with my straight ruler, I'm going to connect to meet this point. The fabric I made use here is a silk fabric, so it was very difficult when I was cutting it. It was shifting. So if you're going to make use of a silk fabric, try to pin all around. So I'll go ahead and cut, and I'll add ½ inch on top of on the head of my sleeve, and then go ahead and cut. So this is how my cape sleeve is going to be. There are different ways to make a cape sleeve, but for this design we are working with, this is how the cape sleeve was made. So I'm going to also go ahead and cut another sleeve pattern for this, having 2 sleeve pattern. So in my next tutorial, we are going to be doing the sewing of this dress. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, like, share. Please do share this video, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.